Hello everyone, welcome to Storytime. My name is Steven and today we're going to be reading some I Don't Work Here Lady Stories. Tales of some of the most awkward, frustrating, or otherwise inconvenient exchanges one could have. And let me just say, if you're not already subscribed to Storytime, please consider doing so. But with that being said, let's sit back, relax, and listen to some captivating Reddit stories. For the last time, lady, I'm not a court secretary. So I work in a prison in a supervisor role, and I always seem to be mistaken for an employee of other places. I am sometimes involved in transporting newly sentenced criminals to the prison. This involves going to the courts and collecting them, and it's normally a straight in, straight out ordeal. It's also worth knowing that I'm a woman. A few other officers and I went to our local court to collect two men who we were taking back with us. The two men are being held separate, so me and another prison officer, Jake, split off to go and collect one of them and escort him to the van. Jake goes in the room first, finding the man talking to his mother, Karen, and politely begins the conversation as I enter. Karen just does a beeline for me. "Hi, I was just wondering how we go about the appeals process. My son here is innocent." "I'm not sure, ma'am. You'd have to ask a court official or a lawyer. I work in the But you're the secretary to the judge, so you would surely know this. I don't want my son going to prison. He won't survive a second in there." I can't disclose the crime for obvious reasons, but I can assure you prison is a dangerous place for those found guilty of this offense, so I understand her fear. However, I can't help her as I know very little about the court process. "Ma'am, I'm not a secretary. I'm a prison transport officer. If you look at my uniform, you're a woman." Me, very confused and looking to Jake for help. "Yes, I am, but I'm not a secretary." Karen looks to Jake. "There are no female prison officers. She's definitely a secretary." "No, she's an officer. There's loads of female prison officers. We need to escort your son, so if you could go and find—" "Ridiculous. She is dressed as a secretary." "This is a load of bull. I'm wearing the exact same uniform as Jake is. Black army boots, black trousers, white shirt, black tie, and even the fancy little hat that we sometimes get to wear on jobs like this. Literally the only thing I'm wearing that can make me look like a secretary is my glasses." "Ma'am, this is a prison officer uniform. Now we need to stick to a schedule, so we need to go. Please go to the front and speak to the actual secretaries. My colleague and I need to get going." The guy stands up hurriedly, letting Jake take a hold of his handcuffs and comes along with no problems, and we turn to leave. We are halfway down the corridor within view of the security team in the courts and thus the actual secretaries, when Karen grabs my arm and tries to spin me around. I roll my eyes and Jake and I turn to glare at her. "Can I help you, ma'am?" "Yes, you can tell me how to appeal. You're a secretary. Do your job." "For the last time, lady, I'm not a secretary. I am a prison guard. You can see my uniform, you can read the badges, unless you really are that stupid. Also, it's incredibly sexist of you to assume that I am a secretary purely because I'm a woman. Now, we are behind schedule, so if you would kindly go and speak to those men over there, all the secretaries on duty that day were male, quite funny, they can help you." I turn and follow Jake, who hadn't bothered stopping and by this point was out by the van, and all but stormed out of there. I heard Karen complaining to the secretaries that I was so rude for trying to get out of my job. The secretary's response? "Sorry, ma'am, we can't help. We aren't prison officials." Honestly, I'm surprised nothing more happened when they put their hands on OP. Who's gonna have the bright mind to hear somebody claim that they're a prison official, then track them down, grab them by the arm, and spin them around? Yeah, no thank you. This Karen just could not get it through their thick skull. "I don't work at the tire shop." Scene: local mom and pop tire shop, waiting in the lobby for them to finish my car. CL, crazy lady, definite Karen. Crazy lady talks to the owner out front for a few minutes, gets something from her SUV, and then comes in the lobby looking around impatiently. "Did owner's name go into the bay?" "Yeah." "Here, give this to him." Holds out her keys. "I don't work here." "I have to go, just give them to him." "I don't work here, I'm waiting for my car." "Fine, I don't care. I just want you to make sure he gets them, okay?" "I'm not going to be responsible for your keys, and why would you give them to someone you don't know? I could steal your vehicle for all you know." "Fine, I'll do it myself." Storms off into the bays past the no entry signs. I don't know what this crazy lady was going on about. If I was OP in the same situation, I'd be like, no thank you. No thank you. No thank you. I don't want your keys. I don't work here. So I don't even understand what this lady was going on about. She wanted to put some responsibility on someone else and just leave. That's not how it works. You give it to somebody that actually works there. You wait for somebody. Sorry that the world doesn't revolve around you. My first I don't work here lady. First off, some background. I work security overnight. Our uniform is a blue polo shirt and black cargo pants. This morning after I got off work, I went to a grocery store where the employees wear a blue polo shirt, which I did not realize until this morning. As I was doing my shopping, I turned a corner when I heard, "Can you help me, miss?" I looked up a bit confused and I said, "I can try." "This box of tissue says 4 boxes, but it's the size of only 2 boxes. Me, still confused about how to help her. Nice lady is still going on about the tissues. After a couple minutes, she figured out the difference. "Oh, okay, these are smaller, squarer boxes, not the rectangles." "Yeah, they are. By the way, I don't work here." I said it as nicely as could. "Oh, I'm sorry, I saw the blue shirt and thought you did." Me points at the security logo on my shirt. "No, I work security, but sometimes it helps to bounce ideas off someone." We both laughed about it and went our separate ways. I did bump into her again once more and we both laughed again. I am glad my first I don't work here lady was a happy one that we could both laugh at. Just a short, sweet, and somewhat wholesome I don't work here lady story. Let's see if we can keep this streak up, shall we? Gardening. I'm an IT field tech. I usually go around the region upgrading various pieces of equipment. I wear a black polo shirt, black jeans, and black boots. Today, I am in a store that sells items. The employees wear either red on black with the company's logo or black on black with the logo. I'm changing a camera monitor behind a glass case countertop, displaying items for sale. This one lady pushes her cart next to the glass case, doesn't look at me, and states, "Gardening." I look at her and say, "I'm sorry, I don't work here." She slightly turns her head, gives me a slight stink eye, and repeats, "Gardening." She fully enunciates each syllable. I stretch my neck over the counter and make her stare at me. "I don't work here." Oh. She then pushes her cart away from me and I finish installing the monitor. What am I, some kind of voice-activated map? Later, as I walk to another install point in the building, I find the push cart lady speaking with a manager on duty. I hear, "Yeah, he was rude to me. He refused to help me find this area." Manager asks, "I'm very sorry to hear that. What was his name?" Lady states, "Oh, he wasn't wearing a name tag. He was wearing a black..." She stops speaking as I walk past. "Oh, it's him." She practically whispers that last part. "Oh, I'm very sorry, but he doesn't work here. I'll speak with him, though," the manager states as I walk out of earshot. She never spoke with me. She did, however, speak with an associate that was in the same area with me earlier, and he refuted the lady's claims. I heard about that later when he pulled me aside to tell me what happened. Sucks to suck, I guess. I have a feeling that this encounter wasn't as creepy as I made it out to be, but I kind of wanted to put that spin on it with some of the detail that OP put into the story. I don't know what's going on with this lady either way. She seemed kind of weird. I'm not your cab. Some backstory on me and my dog. My dog loves people and likes most dogs, but he tends to dislike dogs who get aggressive with him, and also dislikes dogs of the same breed as those have gotten aggressive with him. In my old neighborhood, a neighbor had a Doberman that would bark and lunge at him if we got close, so now he does not like Dobermans. Early one Sunday evening, I was returning home after visiting a friend. My dog was in the car with me. I had just parked around the corner next to a park. I was looking forward to walking my dog in the park and going home after a long drive. I saw a Doberman named Archie run across the street in front of us into the park. I see his owner, a frail old woman neighbor, crossing the street as well, but she's not focused on her dog. She's headed toward my car. I hit the door lock button. The last thing I need is Archie jumping in with her or my dog jumping out. She tries to open the door and starts saying, "Open the door," and keeps pulling on the handle. I tell her I'm not a cab, but she ignores me and continues. I tell her I'll have to call the cops if she continues. She does not react to me in any way, just keeps trying to get into my car. She's also paying no mind to her dog, who is running free in the park. She's too old and frail to give him any exercise and just shuffles along with him when she walks him. I call the cops and tell them the situation. She seems like she's got Alzheimer's or she's mixing her meds and our dog is running free, but I make it clear he's not hurting anyone. She wanders over to some neighbors who are out in the park. They're already trying to round up her dog without much success. From a later conversation with one of those neighbors, I found out they took her home and she didn't even know it was her house. Eventually, the dog was rounded up and brought home as well. Then the cops showed up. I told them I called, explained the above, and told them they should do a wellness check on her. I mentioned to a neighbor that a man used to live there. He also had a Doberman named Rocky. A few months ago, I was told by another neighbor that Rocky died, which I found strange, since he wasn't old and seemed in good health the last I saw him. Well, the neighbor in the park said the man was her husband and Rocky didn't die. The old lady poisoned him and the husband left her. I don't know how accurate the gossip is. I feel sorry for Archie. He's young and strong and wants to run, but he sits in the house and looks out the window and barks at everyone in the park. I don't know what OP is doing. I doubt OP is listening, but if they are, they need to call animal services and get a check on this lady. Just the fact that the rumor going around is the old lady poisoned a different Doberman and she has a current one with her. Dude, we gotta do something about that. That's not okay. Now I'm gonna be here worrying about Archie, man. I'll be happy to take your reservation. I'm from Virginia Beach. Our house phone number was just one digit different from multiple hotels at the ocean front. This was the 80s, so people still called to make reservations, and we got more than a few missed dials from people trying to reach a hotel. Normally, I would just tell the person on the phone their error, they would thank me, and that would be the end of it. However, and this happened more than a few times, I would get someone who would give me some kind of grief like I was lying, or the misdial was somehow my fault and other nonsense. I remember one dude laying into me, a child, that it was inappropriate for us to have a phone number so close to the one for the hotel, and that we should change it so people weren't inconvenienced. Yeah, okay, bud. Anyway, at some point I had enough of people getting crappy with me, so I started taking their reservations. If they were going to be a jerk to a kid, they got what they deserved. On top of that, if they were trying to book a room with someone who was obviously a child, well, what can I say? I still think about the many people who showed up at an oceanfront hotel weeks or months later thinking they had reservations only to find out the hard way that they didn't. It was probably next to impossible to find vacancies anywhere during summer because the hotels were usually fully booked. All those vacations ruined. And before anyone gives me any grief about this, remember, I was a child, immature, and prone to mischief. I'm just hoping OP only did this to the people that were incessant jerks, because it does feel a little bit over the top to have somebody show up weeks or months later and their whole plan's completely ruined. So hopefully only the disgusting people who were actually worthy of such a treatment got it. But, you know, you're immature, you're a kid, sometimes it might fall through and might mess some people up a little bit. Sweet old lady thinks I work at store. So my mom works at Broger and has for a long time. For some context, I wear a school uniform that resembles the store uniform a lot. Tan khakis, navy blue shirt, and lanyard with my school ID. I look like I'm around 25 but look 30 when I wear my glasses. I'm a 15-year-old girl. On to the story. My school had a half day, some kind of meeting or something, so I accompanied my mom to work. I was just walking around with her when I felt a gentle tap on my shoulder. "Excuse me, can you help me grab some things? I had surgery on my arm a while ago and can't reach very high." "Sure, let me just go tell her," gesturing to my mom. Once I get the okay, I go around and help this lady with things like water, dog food, things on high shelves, etc. "Thank you so much. You can go back to whatever you were doing. Sorry to bother you." I noticed she has a bunch of stuff she still needed to get. She had been crossing things off a list the whole time. "Ma'am, I notice you still have some stuff you need to get. If you would like, you can go sit on a bench and I can get the rest of your items for you. If it isn't too much trouble." "No problem at all." She gives me her number in case I had questions about a specific brand, flavor, etc. I call my mom and let her know what's going on and I'll be a bit longer than expected. Before I leave the sweet lady, she asks for my name. I didn't think much of it until I came back. She was talking to a very confused manager. As soon as she sees me, she says, "That's her. That's the sweet young lady who helped me this morning. I just want to make sure she doesn't get in trouble for helping me if she was supposed to be doing something else." Store manager, recognizing me, "Oh, she doesn't work here, but her mother does." "Oh my bejesus. Yes, she actually said that. I am so sorry to take up your time. She was so apologetic and embarrassed, but we reassured her that it was all fine and dandy. She was so sweet and kind. We need more people like her in this world. Aw, what a nice little story to wrap things up. Just a sweet little story, kind-hearted people, wholesome stuff. It's good stuff. I need to hear more of this after that whole Archie thing. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today, so thank you so much for listening to and watching the Storytime channel. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing and leave any feedback you can in the comments below. Thank you all again for watching and listening to the Storytime channel.